Hi everyone, this is Moritz Monk Music, and today we're going to talk about the text stimulus in the O-level music composition task. So, what is the text stimulus? It is a set of text that you are to use as lyrics to the song that you write in the O-level music composition question. So, the types of text that may appear. There are two types, you just need to choose one. First, poems by local writers. These tend to be rather hard to balance in terms of phrasing. Second, original lyrics published by the Cambridge exam authorities. These tend to be slightly easier, and then there's also a chorus being indicated in the body of the text. However, exceptions abound, and the principles for setting words to music would be the same for both cases. So let's look at the process. Read the poem over and over again. That is your first step. And you work out the stress patterns. We actually have a table for you to quickly determine which words to stress and which words not to stress. The second step will be choose a meter that best fits the stress patterns. Third steps, set the words to a rhythm that fits the meter. Fourth step, substitute a major or minor harmonic template that we have spoken about in our last few videos. Fifth step, using your rhythm, write a melody. And you bear in mind the harmony from the template that you are substituting. So, let's look at an example of a local poem. This is a poem by a local poet, a Singaporean poet called Suet Tan. I took this from the bananawriters.com website. You can find more examples of local poets there. The master of air took a ball and made it smaller in an open field darkened by the mountains. It is important to read it in standard English and try and infuse some expression to it. It is actually very important to bear in mind not to read it in Singlish, because if you read it in Singlish, especially in extreme Singlish, the whole poem will just appear flat and expressionless, like this. The master of air took a ball and made it smaller in an open field darkened by the mountains, an eagle or two overhead. Then like that, you're not going to know where the phrases lie, and then which words to emphasize, what kind of natural rhythm that you're going to have in the speech. So, how are we going to determine which words to stress, which words not to stress? We have a table over here. We generally look at the parts of speech. So let's look at the unstressed words. Now, the unstressed words will be pronouns. Things like me, you, I, he, she, it. Next, we don't stress articles also, like a, and, the. We do not stress prepositions, like of, to, on, in, by. Conjunctions, like and, but, we don't stress them as well, because in the natural speech pattern, we do not stress these things. Now, let's look at what kind of words we do stress. Things like nouns, things, the names of things. Verbs, the action words like running, jogging, walking, all these things you will stress them. Adverbs, the words that actually describe the actions, like quickly, slowly, fastidiously. You will tend to have just at least one syllable that's being stressed. Then, adjectives, words that describe the things. So, big, small. Colors, like blue, red, green. And finally, interjections. All these words that do not have a particular meaning, but then they add the dramatic effect, like oh, ow, huh? So these words, right, you will need to stress them because they add the dramatic effect. Other things to bear in mind: stressed syllables should go on the beat. Unstressed syllables should be off the beat. Syllables with consonant clusters should have a longer time value. like spring, like send. So for example, if we're going to say, send it to me. So you're going to naturally stress on the word send. Sending it to you. So you can see that I'm just sending. So the first syllable of the word sending, I'm going to stress on it. Going back to the poem, this time round bearing in mind our parts of speech. So you see, master is a noun. And we are going to stress on the first syllable, master. Air, another noun. We're going to stress on it. Took, verb in the past tense, stress on the verb. Ball, another noun. So the whole thing will be the master of air took a ball and made it smaller in an open field, darkened by the mountains, an eagle or two overhead, fanning their wings in approval. See, consonant cluster. So you need to allocate more length for that. At the way he curves his lips, lowers his eyelids, and makes like the wind. Now, some considerations over here. Makes like. Wow, two stresses back to back. Maybe we have to remove one of them. And the other one, smaller in an open field. So maybe we have to add another stress here. Since this one is usually this one is just the next line, we might just want to emphasize the word in. Now, bearing this in mind, we try and fit a meter to it. So let's try maybe in 3. The master of air took a ball and made it smaller in an open field. In an open. Okay, that doesn't quite work sometimes. Yeah, but then of course we can always and made it smaller in an open field. That's possible. It is a process of try and error. We can even try this in 4. The master of air took a ball and made it smaller in an open field, darkened by the mountains, an eagle or two overhead. Okay, fits nicely. But there's this kind of feeling that the whole thing doesn't flow very well. So of course, sometimes we also have to bear in mind the flow of the poem. Let's try maybe compound time, then maybe it will just fit better. The master of air took the ball and made it smaller in an open field, darkened by the mountains. You can actually do that. Okay, so it seems like 6/8 is better. So either way, sometimes learning how to rap can actually help a bit. So taking our idea of 6/8, 6/8 meter, and then fitting the whole poem into a rhythm. So I've just decided that we can just do it like this. The will be an upbeat. So we have to start on an upbeat. Roughly, the whole thing should go, the master of air took a ball and made it smaller in an open field, darkened by the mountains, an eagle or two overhead, fanning their wings in approval at the way he curves his lips, lowers his eyelids and makes like the wind. So in this way, the whole poem can flow rhythmically. And now once we have worked out the flow, we try and put in a template. Now we have various kinds of templates as discussed in previous videos. We have looked at simple time, 4/4, 3/4. The same template can be adapted to 6/8. So all you need to do is just take a 4/4 template and make all the minims into dotted crotchets. Now, let's just look at the minor template over here, because minor would just give a slightly more Tai Chi feel to this entire piece. or at least this is how I feel. Of course, you may feel differently, and it is totally up to you in the way that you want to plan your composition. So notice I've changed all the minims from the previous minor template to dotted crotchets. So the entire effect will sound like this. And of course, this sounds rather too fast, because Tai Chi is something that goes round and round, not too fast. So anyway, fitting in a template cookie cutter melody. So notice that I put in this, I put a rather much slower tempo to this. Now, why minor? If you are just going to do the natural minor, that means no sharpen 7, no sharpen 6, the whole thing will be a slightly more folkish feeling. In this case, we should just adapt the template to the rhythm. Next, what we do is this, bearing in mind that we have an upbeat, like previous videos, copy, paste one bar later. Clear out the first bar. Now, we have to have a clear idea how we want to put the rhythm in. So, a simple way of doing this will be just paste in an additional part. 1/9 percussion will do. And next, go to the rhythm. Paste. So you can see there's a lot of cutting, pasting, copying, and whatsoever in composition. And that's it. Now, what I do is I just write a melody to fit in whatever rhythm that I have over here. So copy. See, I'm la-ti-do. So yeah, that way I would have a very nice kind of curve for when I enter the very first bar. So there's an anacrusis, crucis, that kind of thing. So yeah, those of you that have done some sort of movement and music in your general music classes, you will know this. Copy the rhythm. The master of air. And then quickly do this. I have to go up again because the thing is, if I just keep on going down, it's going to be rather boring. So really, sometimes bear in mind the melodic curve. So I should just go up there again. Maybe I should just mirror the first bar instead. Notice I have a rather long note at the end of the phrase, and I've actually extended the phrase. So maybe I should cut, paste. Okay, let's just illustrate this thing first for the first few bars so that you will understand how it is to be done. Mountains, I should kind of also illustrate the shape of a mountain like this. There's an up and a down, so maybe I should just do that. So if I'm just going to tie one syllable over a few notes, I will have to put a slur. So like mountains. So just listening to what I have here. This one, I'm just going to have a cadence. So voila, I have written this. I've written the very first part of the phrase already. And this one actually feels more like a chorus. Because if an eagle or two overhead fanning their wings, this one actually will not have as much of an arresting kind of thing as the beginning, which is actually a chorus. So this is an example of a song whereby I have to start with a chorus. So if I'm just going to put the rhythm up there, you're just going to hear the rhythm. Not too nice. So let's just listen to the voice and the piano. Better. Now, I have to make the accompaniment flow a bit. So what should I do? So over here, I've just decided to just add an accompanying motive to ensure that this entire accompaniment flows. And this is also to ensure that the melody flows better. So I'm supposed to just continue this entire melodic motifs such that the whole, it pervades throughout the entire piece. So continuing the motif would be like this, just 4 semiquavers, quaver, 4 semiquavers, quaver. So I just have to make this semiquavers. And so extending the accompaniment to the rest of the song that I've written so far, I mean, we are just not going to bother about the things after bar 8 yet. Later on, we'll just pay attention to it, but not now. Okay, not too bad for a start. Now, we settle the next section, whereby we have an eagle or two overhead. Previously, the section was in minor key, so this section should be in major key to have a better contrast. Let's look at major template. Adapting the previous major template, we have all the minims changed to dotted crotchet with the same kind of descending bass line. And also a customizable melodic template on top. Yeah, as you can see, it just goes up and down the C major scale. And then, yeah, maybe it has some sort of pentatonic inflections, but it may not be, because the thing is, you can always customize it with us. So do feel free, contact us for a immensely, infinitely customizable melodic template that comes with a free consultation. So roughly, it will be like this. Counting this thing, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, roughly 7 to 8 bars. Copy and paste into that thing that we have been working with. So going from the previous, is it the Master of Air? As you can see, The template roughly can fit into the rhythm. So what we do is fit it. Use the rhythm and we fit it. Right, it's easier to just remove notes than to add notes. Fanning, I need the whole thing to move. So I have to have an impression of flying. Fanning, okay, maybe not so much. See, I'm just putting the notes also in consideration of what kind of harmony we have. So roughly, you see what is something that we have so far. Okay, so far so good. Continue. Lowers. Since I need something to lower, it has to start higher. And I have to find a way to get back to minor so that the chorus can start back in the minor. So to actually make this whole thing minor again, right, I just have to cancel this chord. And then change this thing to the dominant of the minor. Since over here I actually have a G sharp, here I have a G sharp, I'm doubling the leading notes, which shouldn't be the case. Don't do that. Something like that. But of course, you can also remove this because this will be too much of a stretch. Or just put this all the way up there. Let's listen. Not too bad. Now I just have to add in the slurs. Their wings, approval. He curves his lips. Makes like the wind. Okay, fine. Now, next thing will be something that everybody knows. Copy and paste. Copy the chorus. And we are there again. And make sure I have to put in the upbeat. So, going back from the verse again. Sorry. Okay, this, yeah, something like that. It's just that I have to make this entire chorus repeat itself again so that at least I can balance with I can balance in terms of proportion. So now, after making the relevant pasting, I will have the chorus that repeats itself. So here. accompaniment is complete, and also the pasting is done, and I've removed the rhythmic line because it is no longer necessary. Now, I have 1 minute and 7 seconds. What should I do next? See, it is rather too short for a 3-minute piece. I mean, it says it needs to be less than 3 minutes, but then of course, if you're just going to hand in 1 minute, it still may not be enough. So the easiest way in any kind of popular song is raise the key. So copy the whole thing, raising the key. So from A minor, I go up to B flat minor. And in order to allow the singer some time to get used to the key, add an interlude that is a semitone above. So my interlude over here is just pretty much in front, the chorus itself, copy, transpose. Anyway, before I go further with this piece, let's go back to the verse itself. So, previously, it was all chords over here. Notice that I have just expanded the accompaniment. So pretty much it is just using the right hand to outline the chords that we had. So if you're just going to compare the initial thing that we used to have, see, it was just like that. Bring it to here. It needs to be somewhat contrasted rhythmically with the chorus. So you can see that the chorus here, it is like that. Here I actually have a bit more of a filler. It moves a little bit more. So yeah, you see my chorus will be. However, my verse should see, the flourishes will help the accompaniment flow more from the verse to the chorus. And notice that all the fourths, all these things will create more of a kind of traditional Chinese feeling, which this poem also seeks to bring out. So I would have completed the verse and the chorus in terms of melody and accompaniment. You may want to add in instruments subsequently. But then now, let's look at how do we handle the entire key change. So the entire key change was just lifting the chorus, creating an interlude on the piano. So this was just copying from up here, copy, transpose. Whole piece, copy, transpose. And at the end, just add a coda, an instrumental coda, or sometimes what we call the outro. And the whole piece is done. So now let's listen to how the whole thing sounds. Change key. Just 2 minutes and slightly more. Can even elect to repeat the chorus one more time. But it is totally up to you, whereby if you want a longer piece. Now what is left is just add in the final details, like clean up the accompaniment, add in articulation marks, add in dynamic markings, such that the piece will be a complete piece. Now this completes our series of videos on composition for O-level music. We have covered pitch stimulus, rhythm stimulus, text stimulus. We are not going to cover context stimulus because this is not restricted by pitch, rhythm, word stress, or structure. The context stimulus is not restricted by any of these elements. Therefore, you can just use any template and adapt accordingly. Now, for those of you that are interested in templates or interested in us customizing or creating a template just for you, contact us anytime at moritzmarkmusic.com. Alternatively, if you want a straightforward composition lesson, contact us too. Remember, we will always be there for you. Thank you. See you next time.